Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
Paul Harold Abraham, Donald Glenn Armstrong, Raymond A. Osterman Jr., Bruce Lyle Badger, Christopher Delbert Bangs, Wayne Lewis Bolt, Michael Edward Borges, Hurley Millard Boyd, Barry Wayne Brickey, William Henry Brown Jr., Donald Russell Burton, James Edward Byrd, Stephen Michael Carnahan, Liam Soif Casey, Herbert Hugo Cato III, Donald Edward Chambers, Dale Elling Christensen, David Thomas Connors, Michael Dean Cook, Dale Lewis Corshane, Lowell Levane Crawford, Douglas Eugene Crooks, Julian Castillo Cular, John Francis Daniels Jr., David Marshall Davies, John Harry Dillmore, Curtis Eugene Doris, William Edgar Edwards, Richard Elliott, Alfred Kendall Evans, James Joseph Evans, Earl Faison Jr., Thurman L.B. Fillingham, William Michael Fink, Alvin Winslow Floyd, George Steve Franklin, John Wesley Frink, Carl Lee Fruchtenick, Masaichi Fujimoto, Eugene Edward Fuller, Robin Frederick Gatwood Jr., Anthony Rober Giangeli, Spencer Allen Goeth, Thomas Roy Gorille, Larry Graves, John Richard Gregoire, Mickey Eugene Griffith, Dale Andre Gronsky, Percy Lee Gully Jr., Paul Allen Haynes, Douglas Lee Harrison, William Donald Hasty, Glenn Lee Hatta, Paul Russell Hattabaugh, Kenneth Ray Hawley, Archie Andrew Heyman, Alan L. Higginbotham, Joseph Lester Hockenberry, John Daniel Hoffman, Jean J. Howard, Ralph Charles Huth, Fred Carlton Jenkins, Richard Craig Johnston, Melvin Hamana Khalili,
Joe Thomas Kemmerling, Stephen Michael Knaufel, David Michael Kesterson, Robert Paul Kettering, Orville Eugene Kitchen Jr., Dennis Richard Gnoch, George John Colmer III, Ronald Victor Kolb, Byron Kent Culland, Peter Allen Lamont, Francis M. Lawrence Jr., Charles Allen Levis, Vernie Eldon Lochner, John Joseph Lyons, Carl Marion Mabe, Frederick Mares, William Paul Martin, Alexander Leo Mayer, Harold John McDonald, Terry R. McLean, Alvin Charles McMahon Jr., Donald Franklin McMillan, James Robert Meade, Alexander John Ney Menzies, Norman Norwood Miller, Larry Joseph Millot, Robert Allen Montgomery, James Moore Jr., Weldon Dale Moss, Charles Denver Mosser, Robert Allen Mowry, Daniel Leroy Myers, Thurman Wayne Owen, John Joseph Powell, Ronald Page Pascal, Barry Michael Patton, Willie James Perkins, Carl Frederick Perry, Carl Gerald Peterson, Lawrence Edward Filia, Daniel Joseph Piotrowski, Dennis Newman Pipkin, Lowell Stephen Powers, Donald Wayne Queen, Robert Glynn Quick, Jewel Lee Rainwater, John Edward Rarick, Robert Herman Rassel, William L. Richardson, Jr., Willie James Ridgway, Everett Edward Rhines, Serviano Rios, Douglas Cecil Ristine, Henry Neil Rockower, James Hamilton Rogers, Larry Emmett Rose, Larry Dean Ruggles, David Gordon Russell, Pablo de Mayo Sanchez, Benny M. Santesteban Jr., Kenneth Francis Schorndorf, Henry Moyer Serex, Stephen Andrew Sherlock, Albert Schiller,
Keith Leroy Shipp, William Thomas Smith, Donald Laverin Stiles, Robert John Stork, Jr., James Stracca, Jr., Charles E. Supernant, Jr., James Edward Sutherland, James Albert Swartz, Jr., Jimmy B. Taylor, Kenneth M. Thibault, Michael Francis Thomas, Lester Jefferson Thornell, Jimmy Mack Tiegman, Steve Warren Train, Watson Underwood, Jr., William Louis Basbury, Julian Victor Velasquez, Filiberto Villa, Henry Mitchell Vinson, David Arlen Waldera, Wesley William White, Linwood White, Jr., Ivan Preston Whitlock, William George Wilkins, Vance George Williams, Ralph Maurice Williams, Doyle Williams, Ingo Julius Robert Wiskow, Johnny Mack Wood, Thomas S. Woodland, Jr., Richard Hugh Wright, Robert Joseph Roble, Charles Leonard Yates, Donald Earl Young, Dennis Lee Young, Joseph Michael Youngerman, Gary Jean Zeller.